welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay, but I'm taking cover because I picked a topic that is one of your least favorite tonight.
Well, listen, it's not about me, but it is one of my least favorites because I have to, like, really, we're talking about Genie again? Like, we're really talking about Genie again? We are. We're talking about Genie again.
We are talking about Genie again. It just changes. There's information that throws people's decisions, and this has now been around, believe it or not. We are going on month number 18. It came about October 19th, 2021 was the first day that Disney Genie Plus went into effect. And I am going to limit tonight to talking about Genie Plus, not all the things in the app. But it is an overwhelming thing to break down and understand. And to somebody going for the first time that isn't used to all these terms and acronyms, and then we just keep throwing them out there, and then they make changes.
Well, and I think if you were catching last week's show where we talked about having a plan, and avoiding, as many mistakes as possible, this show is a great follow-up to that because it is a huge part of having your own plan.
Most definitely. And we're coming off a spring break now, and we saw some really unprecedented things happen, which is why this became top of mind for me.
Okay, so I think that's fair. But so give us the basics of what we need to know as we start off tonight.
I'm going to give you my clients' basics, which is it is so overwhelming for people that since October of 2021, we hold 2 monthly live webinars so that we can deliver this info and we can answer questions. I am 30 to 35 minutes on the dot with them, with getting in questions every time. And I start by saying to people as I look out at faces that are like a deer in headlights and they are afraid to take this on, but they know they have to do it. If you find it overwhelming and confusing, that's because it is. If you're a first timer, Disney just threw too much at you, but we can break it down. And so what we're going to break down tonight and the changes and things specific to tonight are the Disney Genie Plus, which is really the how am I going to ride things? So the first key fact for everybody to know is if you don't ever want to look at your phone, yes, Jeff, I'm talking about you. With the exception of the 2 newest attractions, everything has standby. And standby is just what it sounds like. Walk up, stand by online, and wait your turn. You don't need to know anything except my kids are tall enough and I want to get on this ride. So if you don't want to get into the electronics and the costs and all of that, standby is going to be your way to go. But now we have 4 ways to get on rides. Standby being the first. Our newest rides have virtual queue. So Tron over in Magic Kingdom is on virtual queue right now, and Guardians of the Galaxy in Epcot is on virtual queue. And while there's that element of, I'll say it, annoyance over the virtual queue and the electronics, and do I have the fastest finger in the South to get myself in, I will tell you the bright side of virtual queue. They started those because what they learned with Avatar is as a new ride and a high thrill ride, a slow standby time could be 3 hours. A rough standby time was 5 and 6 hours.
Sure.
So virtual queue saves you 3 to 6 hours in line. It's holding your spot if you're lucky enough to get one in line. You're going to get a notification to your phone when it's your family's time to ride, and then you're going to go over and have a short wait. And those virtual queues open twice a day at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. For the first one, you must have a park reservation for that park, but you don't have to be in the park. For the second one, you have to be in that park. There is a third virtual queue currently Mondays and Wednesdays in Magic Kingdom and Epcot respectively. If you are at a deluxe or a villa resort, for that extra magic evening for those guests, and you can enter that at 6 p.m. There is no cost for the virtual queue, but you do have to make that reservation. And if you haven't tried it yet, I will tell you the 7 a.m. one is tough. I will say I think it's also tough, especially if you're on property, because some of the resorts have really crummy Wi-Fi. And so you have that level of frustration. You can do that 7 a.m. queue while you're sitting in Newark Airport waiting for your flight, as long as you're going into the park later. The 1 p.m. queue is much easier to get at. Obviously, you cut your chances in half if you only go for the 1 p.m. But on both attractions, the 7 a.m. is full by 7 a.m. and 30 seconds. The 1 p.m., depending on the time of year, the day, it's going to be open anywhere from 10 minutes to about an hour until it fills. So you don't have to be as frustrated with that one.
Well, and I'll give you a little anecdote from our last trip. We did Epcot for our reservation for the day on one of the days, and we did the virtual queue twice. We did it at 7 a.m. and we got it, and we did it again at 1 o'clock and we got it. But the problem became, and it goes back to our last show, was having our plan. So when we did it in the morning, it was up against a time where we had to be somewhere else for a dining reservation. So the time that we got, just simply the logistics of it never would have worked, which is what necessitated us to do the 1 o'clock ones.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because clearly you are a Disney Vacation Club member, which means I don't book all of your vacations. I book your non-theme park vacations.
Right.
And you didn't attend the webinar. So let's just break this down for people for a minute. When you got into the 7 a.m. queue, did you cancel it because of your queue number and not being able to get in there?
Yes.
Okay, because I want to make sure people understand you cannot hold two virtual queues for the same day for the same ride.
Correct.
Now, the one thing I will tell you, here's our little insider tip for people. You should have kept that 7 a.m. queue.
Okay, tell us why.
Because here's a little trick for you. You can't be early to your queue time. But as long as the park is still open and the ride is running, there's no technical glitches and it hasn't stopped letting people on for the day, you can be late. So if you got boarding group 26, but we had people do it and text me from Newark Airport saying, I did really well and I want to cry. I'm in boarding group 10 and my flight doesn't land for 2 hours. I'm not going to make it.
Right.
That's okay. The only piece of advice that I will give you, which should carry through on your whole vacation, but I'll talk about it specifically with a late arrival to a virtual queue. Be kind to the cast member that's scanning you in and be honest. Hey, I know I'm really late. I got stuck. My flight was late. I was eating at Garden Grill. Be kind. It's that simple. You're in a happy place on vacation. There's no reason to be confrontational. Those are the people you watch getting turned away. But they understand things happen in Disney, and you may be late for a virtual queue. Not a problem.
Okay, so you've hit standby and virtual queue. There's a couple more.
Genie Plus. So that is the replacement for FastPass. That's where you pay a set amount of money for a bulk opportunity at lots of different attractions. And you make those ride reservations that we'll talk about more in a minute. And then the fourth way to ride kind of goes by two names, depending where in the process you are. It's either known as individual lightning lane or individual select attraction. And basically what they did is Genie Plus is all of the rides that have a little bit longer line. There are some rides that are not on Genie in each park. And that individual purchase ride is the most popular ride in each park. And so if you went 2 years ago, when you were in Epcot, that individual purchase ride was Ratatouille because it was brand new.
Sure.
But now Guardians of the Galaxy is brand new. So that's the individual purchase, and Ratatouille moved into Genie Plus. That's why it gets confusing for people, because it can be something different at a different time. And then when you walk up to the attraction, the sign doesn't say Genie Plus. It says Lightning Lane.
Right.
They use that generic term because something could be the individual attraction today and Genie Plus tomorrow.
Got it. Okay.
So 4 ways to get on your rides.
And so if you're listening carefully, definitely reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services for those monthly webinars, because new information dropping every second. But you did mention that we were coming off of spring break. I know you kind of wanted to talk about what happened over the spring break window, so the floor is yours for that.
So we're going to go back to the 2 purchase options for a minute. One of the things, while I don't always love the price tag associated with it, what I love about that individual select attraction is you know what you're spending. That number could vary, but you know what you're going to spend before you make that purchase each day.
Sure.
You get a return time when you make that purchase, and you are guaranteed that ride. And again, it's the most popular ride, so you may want to do it. Right now, 2 of the rides that you can purchase individually also have a standby queue, but 2 of them only have a virtual queue.
Right.
So for some people, they try for that virtual queue. They try for that second one. If they still didn't get it, then they have that purchase option.
Okay.
The second one you can buy is Genie Plus, which is a group of attractions. And it's good if you're park hopping and you do Magic Kingdom in the morning and Epcot in the afternoon. You pay 1 fee for the day. It covers both parks.
I mean, that's good to know.
Here's the downside to it. It gives you the opportunity to make reservations for a group of rides. If you read their little disclaimer as you go to purchase it, your finger probably hovers over the button and you're not sure you want to purchase it. Because their disclaimer says you will get 2 to 3 rides a day. That is what they are guaranteeing that you will get, is a shorter line for 2 to 3 rides.
Right.
The reality is, if you've attended our webinar or a client of ours, have done lots of research online, you are most likely going to get 6 to 10, depending on the park, depending on your arrival time and some other things. The reason is, when you purchase that individual attraction, you get that time. Like I said, you are guaranteed that ride. With the Genie Plus, you have to make a reservation. You can only make 1 reservation at a time. And then you either need to ride that ride or have had 2 hours passed since the park is open and since you made the reservation before you can get your next one. So, for example, if you don't know in Hollywood Studios that you have to select Slinky Dog Dash as your very first Genie Plus, because by 8 o'clock, all of the times for the day are gone for Genie Plus.
Right.
So just because you bought Genie Plus, if at 2 o'clock you're like, hey, I want Slinky Dog now.
Not happening.
It's gone. It's not happening.
Right.
So one of the things we talk with clients about sometimes is, do you want to do your rides in the order that we know that they become unavailable? It's going to be a lot of extra steps, but it's going to get you on everything. Or do you pick some of the top ones and then fill in with the others on standby? So again, it comes back to that plan, and everybody is different. But here's what we saw for spring break. Genie Plus was $15 to $29 a day plus tax, and you don't know what the cost is going to be till that morning. We can do some guessing. We've gathered a lot of historical data on it now. But suddenly, as we got into that crux of spring break, right before the start of Easter week, out of nowhere, we had a $35 Genie Day. And I said to my team, I think that's a mistake. Not supposed to be that high. And then a couple hours later, we had something unprecedented happen. It sold out. You couldn't give them the $35 a person even if you wanted to.
So you're just dealing with basic economics, though. I mean, if people are willing to pay it, it's tough to argue that you shouldn't charge it, correct?
That's the sad part behind it. Well, I believe in Disney magic. The bottom line is I'm also a stockholder in Disney as a company.
Right.
And like every other company, they tell you, test your widget. And as long as people keep paying your top price, you're not charging enough.
But here's the question, right? I guess there's two questions, right? So the $35, just for folks to have clarity, that's on top of the park ticket.
That is on top of the park ticket.
So, we have this conversation constantly, and you have it every day because you plan vacations for folks that do many different things. Let's give the comparison, because there are, where the light doesn't touch, as Mufasa has told us, there is another theme park in Orlando, and there are other theme parks all over that area, and they offer similar features to their experience. So let's break that down for folks.
So I will say before I break it down that Disney is the only one that has that reservation system attached to it.
Right.
Where you have that 1 hour window and you need a reservation. At first, that's a major negative.
Yeah.
I'd rather just walk up and get online.
Sure.
However, as somebody who has done these other things, incognito so that Mickey wouldn't ever know that I was there.
Of course.
The difference is, barring something going down as an attraction and them having to shut it for a little bit, when I return in that lightning lane, my wait time is 5 to 15 minutes because they only allow a certain number of people every 5 minutes.
Right.
When we talk about some of these other parks, it's great because depending which one you buy, there are no limits. You walk right up and you get right online. But newsflash, you're not the only one.
Right.
So if 1,000 people pick the ride at the same time as you, I've gotten on the express line or the fast track or the quick queue, and you could wait 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or an hour. It's still going to be shorter than standby, but it's not as quick as Disney. So sometimes it's hard to say. So let's start with across town where that little boy Harry lives. And their system is also a little bit complicated. So the first thing to know, and again, just like Disney, these numbers I'm giving you, though they don't sound it, are on top of the ticket price per person plus tax.
And for comparison, the number you gave for Disney, even though you just qualified it with reservation and all this stuff, was 35, was the peak of what we saw last week.
It is, but in fairness, you could add individual lightning lanes.
Sure.
You can purchase up to 2 of those a day. So you could be looking at $75 a day if you really were park hopping and doing everything.
Got it. Okay.
It's definitely not what I recommend, but it's a reality.
Sure. Okay.
So at that place where Harry lives, they sell in unlimited, theirs is called Express Pass. Just like Disney, the price changes per day. Sitting down for this one?
This is based on season and busy season, things like that, correct?
So not only is it based on season, but kind of like we were just saying with see how high you can go.
Right.
It's based on how many they sell. So if you were to call me today and say, we're going to Universal Christmas Day, how much is the ticket and how much is the Express Pass? I might say to you, here's your ticket cost, and that park-to-park one-day ticket is $225, and the Express Pass per person is $149. And you say to me, that's a lot of money. Let me think about it. I'm going to say to you, you're welcome to think about it, but full disclosure, the more they sell, the higher the price goes. So you could call me back in 2 months. It might be the same. It might have gone up by $20 or $50 a person. Christmas Day is their most crowded day. When you call me back on December 24th and say, I need to add it, Their top price on top of the cost of the ticket per person, because you're going to think it's not those things when you hear this number, is $380.
Wow.
That's the unlimited express. You can go on all the rides as many times as you want. They do offer a limited express, which is once per attraction, and that ranges from $90 to $349. I don't know that I want to save $10 and be limited, but that's me.
That's crazy. Okay.
I will give the caveat for Universal. Their top 3 partner hotels get express pass free when you stay there. So we often talk to people about spending a night there because, let's be honest, if it's $380 and you've got 4 people in your room, odds are pretty good that your one-night hotel stay isn't $1,500.
Right.
And if you want to do 2 park days there, the real bargain is you get the express on your check-in day and your check-out day, where you would have to buy it for 2 days.
But still massively expensive. I mean, it's
massively expensive. And their tickets, if you want that park-to-park ticket, are more than Disney's. They're expensive tickets. That wizard pulls some magic over there, let me tell you.
So we got a couple other, I guess they're not, comps are not fair, but we have a couple other experiences that have it. So just break down the 2 quickly for us that are non-Universal or Disney.
Legoland does what they call Fast Track. It's unlimited. Again, it is crowd and date based, $50 to $110 per person. Or if you just want to do the 3 coasters once each, kind of similar to that individual Lightning Lane, it's $40.
Okay.
So more than the top Genie price just for those 3 rides.
Right.
Busch Gardens has what they call Quick Queue. And that ranges, again, based on crowds and expectations, $30 to $170. It's unlimited, except for their newest rides. They limit it to just once. And, we all have theme parks, probably not too far from us. Depending where you live, look up your local Six Flags, Hershey Park, Sesame Place, whatever is near you. If you haven't been in 10 years, I challenge you to go online, look up their equivalent of this pass, and then get the Disney perspective. It stinks to pay at Disney for something that was free 4 years ago. I can't say that enough. However, when you look at what is this industry doing, Disney's delivering it at the lowest rate.
Right. So you had mentioned, in the beginning of when we were talking about it, that a lot of this is time based. We've talked about this before. You mentioned that it did sell out over spring break. Is that something that you're recommending that we have to do late at night, in the morning? What are you seeing there? What's your recommendation?
So 7 a.m. is when you can begin the selection time. And I will say the individual Lightning Lane, just to be clear, pretty much sells out every day. Some attractions like Star Wars sells out in 20 minutes every day. Some of the other parks, they don't sell out till somewhere between 2 and 7 p.m., depending on the day. The Genie Plus, you can purchase at midnight, or 12:01 technically.
Right.
But you still can't make that first selection till 7 a.m. So I beg people, if you're a night owl and you're up anyhow and you're just getting in from fireworks and it's 11:50, sure, if it makes you feel better, buy it at 12:01. But please don't stay up to buy it at 12:01. It's not selling out at 7 a.m. We didn't see it sell out till mid-morning the couple of days that we did. I think it's a sign that they're really trying to evaluate what they can sell to keep those lines short, like I talked about. Because the funny thing is, unless something changed this year, all Disney statistics indicate that their busiest days of the year fall from Christmas to New Year's. And we didn't see sellouts at those points. So they're definitely tweaking. It's why we're doing another Genie episode, because they're tweaking again. Set your alarm, be able to be on your phone by 6:50. You can purchase it at 6:50, 6:55, so that you can make that first selection at 7 a.m. You're not going to gain anything over purchasing it at midnight.
Okay, a couple quick ones. Knowing what you know now, like, do you think everybody needs it every day?
I don't. Again, we look at a lot of things with clients, and one of the top things that I do say is, if you want to spend for it every day, if you just want to consider it a cost of your vacation, even if you're there that second week in September that's typically super slow, you're always going to save time with it. But when I look at it and I say, okay, there's a 15-minute standby line or a 5-minute Genie line, over 10 minutes on a bunch of rides, I may not want it. When I'm looking at an hour and a half for standby versus 10 or 15 minutes on Genie, it makes a difference.
Sure.
It also makes a difference what rides your family is doing, what you like to do, what your time for the day is going to be, when you're going to arrive at the park. Most of our clients, I recommend just a couple of days. Here's a little tip I'll give you, and we'll see if it continues to hold true, but it has for the time that we've been marking it. Tuesdays and Thursdays are less expensive than any other day of the week to buy Genie Plus. So if you're really trying to go on as tight a budget as possible and you only want to buy it for 1 or 2 days, plan it to be a Tuesday and a Thursday. Magic Kingdom has the most rides on Genie Plus. So it's the park where I think you can get the best bang for your buck. You know, I say to people, when I look at the rides in Animal Kingdom and I look and I say, okay, we're only going to do 4, maybe 5 of them. I look at it and I say, well, that's $4 to $5 a ride. I'm kind of too cheap to give you $4 or $5 a ride. When I look at Magic Kingdom and I say, we're going to do 10, and it's going to work out to be $1.50 to $2 a ride.
Different value.
It's a different value.
Sure.
But again, that's a personal value. Everybody's got to make their own choice. Again, it's always going to have value. The question is, how much value and how does that equate? You know, for people that are going down and trying to see everything Disney has in a 3-day weekend, you might need it. For people that have 7 days in a 7-day park hopper, you could probably easily do 1 or 2 days. And again, some of it is strategy. All on-site guests get in 30 minutes early to every park. If you're morning people and you can run right to that top attraction, then why pay for it?
Well, it continues to evolve and we continue to talk about it, and I'm sure this won't be the last time we do talk about it. Thanks for taking the time tonight, and enjoy the rest of the week.
My pleasure. Have a great evening.
And that's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Dis. If anyone you know can benefit from this or any show, please share, have them like, and subscribe. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Dis by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week, and as always, keep making memories.